Guys, we are back with another Country Wayne skit review. I'm not gonna watch this because I'm not gonna feed into this. Where they talk about Brooke asks Isaiah if hope and faith is daring him to take her V car. Wayne, stop this. Stop this now. Because now you talking about a woman's losing her virginity or even discussing losing her virginity. You're not talking about the school anymore. You're not, it's like, come on. If you are that desperate for money, okay, it makes no sense. This all makes no sense no more. If you There's no Jesus popping in this. And I get that, yeah, some of these things is happening in the school systems with these little young girls and stuff. But for you to be publicizing out here like this, why don't you, instead of you making it Brooke, why don't you make it one of your daughters? I'm not understanding. Why don't you make it one of your daughters? And say, Brooke, why don't you make it one of your daughters? So, but it seems like you're willing to sell your soul just to make money. And I know, like, I see some reviewers that say, um, and I watch some other reviewers that actually also do reviews of Country Wayne skit. I watch them because I love actually hearing if they have a different point of view, or just to see what else different that they might add in there and stuff like that. I will watch them after I do my review. I will watch them, and so if I'm on TikTok and they come up, that's fine. I watch them. I don't actually criticize no one hustle or what they want to do. I don't hustle off of this. This is not my hustle. This is my enjoyment. I enjoy giving reviews off of Country Wayne skits because I watch them. But I don't review the ones that I feel that he's taking it too far. Like when he have Kai in the room and Shayla's doing all that yelling and screaming and all that other stuff. I don't review them because that's too far. I don't review Anthony. I don't review too much of Anthony, Amber, and Shayla skits. I definitely I definitely review Delicia and Armand skits because I think they make their chemistry together is good when they're on the screen. It's just that lately now it's just become just nasty. Cause you're gonna have like Shayla popped up at my house, but she didn't have to open that door or open that gate. And you got Delisa in a closet, a grown ass woman hiding in the closet, and then he's in the kitchen having sex with Shayla. He's in the kitchen literally having, and then he goes in the closet with Delicia. Don't go take a shower, don't do nothing, and then have sex with her. This shit is getting so nasty and disgusting. Okay. The shit is really getting so nasty and disgusting that you can have sex with this woman and immediately don't even go to a shower and immediately have sex with the other one. If that's the case, then why don't y'all do y'all sister wives? That's what it seems like y'all going anywhere. Anyway. And then you got this skit where Ernestine becomes the principal of a school. I'm glad Ernestine got a job, but let's make this real. In the state of Georgia, you have to have a principal certification. And see, this is why our kids down here is always behind. And I'm gonna tell you that you guys are behind because when I moved my kid, when we moved our kids from New Jersey to down here, our kids was more advanced than where y'all was at in the curriculum for them grade levels. Okay, that's why I said they're so far behind because it's not about these people that's in this school system. They don't have the necessary requirements to actually teach or be a principal or admin in these schools. They are is by word of mouth and friends and oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to see if I could get you this job and the whole nine. Ernestine has no principal certification. Damn, she got fired from being a probation officer for intermingling with parolees. Okay, did you forget that? But now you're gonna work her into the school system. She's gonna just because she had an incident that was a positive incident with some water boys. Really. And this is why our kids are behind. You got principals and teachers and admins in these schools with no must be required documentation to be in these schools. Okay? They got the job because they networking with somebody or as a friend of a friend or all this other shit. I'll give you an example of that. I remember when I first came down here years ago, and I had applied to be to actually I applied for the elementary school. No, it was excuse me, the high school. I applied to be in Georgia high school, and I wanted to be an assistant principal. Mind you, I have my doctorate, I have my master's, and I have my bachelor's. And I met with the principal at the time. It was a lady. I'm not going to tell y'all what school it was. It was a lady. And I had did my research on her before I actually met with her. So, and the interview was going good. And the first thing she said to me, which threw me off guard, was, well, here we like to be addressed by our first names. I said, okay. She was like, do you have a problem with that? I said, no. And so she was like, well, because I see that you're a doctor, so you won't be called that. I said, well, with me and what I earned, I like to be addressed with my education. And my education is doctor. And so she was like, well, I understand that. I said, then I said, well, do you? I said, because at the end of the day, when a person works so hard to get their PhD and to get that degree, do you understand how insulting that is when you say you want to just address me as just my name? And then so she caught a little attitude, but then when she said that, someone came in the door. It was a white guy. He looked like he was a teacher, and she said, "Oh, hey, Dr. Adams." I said, "Oh, he's your nurse. He's your school nurse." She said, "Oh no, he's a teacher for chemistry." You just said, "Hey, Dr. Adams." I didn't say this to her. I just let the interview continue, but I was speaking with my husband about it, and I said, "Now she just said, 'Hey, Dr. Adams,' but you just told me here people like to be addressed by their first name, but you call him Dr. Adams. Was it because of the color of his skin? And since my skin is black, you don't want to address me as my name, what I worked hard for." So and it was just that piece right there. But she didn't look at my education. She didn't look at my experience. She didn't look at any of that. She was just so concerned because she did not have a doctorate degree that all of a sudden, if I'm there being an assistant principal to her, since I have a doctor's degree, she would felt that she would feel some type of way of me being called a doctor and her just being called Mrs. or Miss. But that's not my issue. That's not my problem. And this is what Georgia is about. This is why our kids are so far behind. You want to actually do word of mouth, and then you want to say, "Oh yeah, well, you want to," but you get into your feelings. See, in Jersey, we get into our feelings, but we ain't gonna let that. We're never gonna let that stop us from what we need to pursue. We're never gonna let that stop us. That's the whole thing. Up north, that's what we do. That's what we do. I can interview someone and can't stand their demeanor. Can't stand the way they're sitting and the little sarcastic things that they're doing. But if they got that qualifications, if they have the qualifications to do that job, I'm gonna actually go with them qualifications, and then at the end of the day, I could always work with them to say, look, your demeanor is a little rough. You rough around the edges. Could we like loosen that up? I know you probably was nervous during the interview and stuff, but let's loosen that up. I don't like to have come to Jesus moments, because if I have come to Jesus moments, I only have one, because Jesus only was actually rectified one time, so I'm only gonna have one, and so but this is why I go back, just so I could go back. This is why our kids are behind. Is because stop giving jobs to your friends and your friends' friends or your cousins or your nieces. Give jobs to people who are actually qualified for them. Okay, but my biggest complaint on here is, Wayne, this is unnecessary. This thing with Brooke and losing her V card. Come on here. This is not no Jesus popping. This shit is getting nastier and nastier and nastier as we go along. And it's just sad. It's truly sad. It's getting nastier and nastier and nastier as we go along. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Talk of the Table. Let's chat. Continue to like, share, and subscribe, and continue to leave your comments. I am Tasha, and we're going to keep this rolling.